All right, Juan Bendana, welcome to the show.
Brett, thanks for having me.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on, brother. I mean, I've been following your journey on social media for some time now, and I think it's a really just inspiring path that you've led. You went out and said, like, I want to become a keynote speaker. I want to inspire and make as much of an impact as I possibly can in this world. And you started around 10 years ago. And I just want to kind of go through that journey because to become the speaker of the magnitude that you are takes an unbelievable amount of persistence and resilience. And I think we can all learn a little bit about how you did so. So just from the top, like, when did you decide that you wanted to become a keynote speaker? Like, how does that even happen in someone's minds?
Yeah, I was at a conference and I'd heard a speaker. I was 19, 20 years old. And I was like, how do you do that? How does that happen? Like,
Right.
what is your job? Like, it literally, I was so blown away how,
Yeah.
and I still to this day do not believe a speech changes someone's life, but I think the decisions that they make from it can. And some of the decisions I made from that speech that I listened to for, 50 minutes were like a tiny shift, but over an extended period of time made a massive difference. So I looked into the industry. I was like, how do you do this? And I found someone that was doing it in Toronto because I'm originally Canadian, even though now I live in the US. And I emailed his agent and he agreed to sit with me at a Starbucks for 3 hours. True
Cool.
story. And we sit down. He booked me my first keynote. The speaking fee was a coffee mug. And I did that and I was terrified of speaking. I was horrible at it. I had no skill set and I had no background that would enable me to speak because many times people speak because they were an astronaut or an Olympian or wrote a best-selling book or were a former politician, like something for some reason. I wanted to do this for no reason, right? So
Right.
it was a lot harder to kind of jump that hurdle, but I had a level of obsession of like, I don't have the talent, I do not have the skill set, I barely even have the like natural born ability to doing this, but I do have, and one of the main themes that I guess we'll be diving into here, I did have an unreasonable level of persistence, borderline obsession with figuring this thing out. And I think persistence is often not measured in how well can you do something for a week. It's how well can you do something for a year. What can you do for 400 days? What can you do for 600 days? So I just decided, like, I was like, I'm going to send 100 emails a day for as long as it takes, including Saturdays and Sundays. I learned to code my own website before like Wix and Squarespace and all these website platforms existed. I just like learned how to code and built a janky website. It was horrible. And I just kind of built from there. And now, people see the keynotes for, American Express and Lindt Chocolate and Fidelity and Allstate and Zillow. And they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, you got to look back there,
Right.
you know,
100 emails a day, every single day.
like
That's how you do it.
100%. So it was really that journey of like wanting to give the advice that I wish I'd received earlier on. So I started working with high schools, colleges, and then that graduated to parents and educators. And then that turned into working with companies and associations and then Fortune 100 executives and then offsites and annual retreats and things like that. So but it was an iterative process for sure. At the very beginning, it was just like consistently tripping over your shoelaces every step of the way.
I
But I
love
think
it.
that's one of the fun parts of it.
Sure, absolutely. And I totally agree with the fact that sure, maybe one talk, one keynote is not going to completely transform a person's life, but they can come out of that talk with a lot of energy and a lot of momentum, and they can make some changes in their life immediately after that talk that maybe they wouldn't have made otherwise. I know I saw Tony Robbins years ago, and but he is just a force of nature on stage. I think to command the attention of as many people that he commands for hours. I mean, he's up there for hours. He's up there all freaking day, and the entire stadium is on the edge of their seat. They can't get enough. He's a once in a lifetime type of performer. Well, what he does should really be appreciated. But I walked out of that summit just completely on fire. And I think you got to use that fire immediately because it's precious and it's valuable. And I made some decisions in my life immediately after that. One was to stop drinking, which has been an incredibly just life changing decision for me from a health perspective, productivity, business, everything. The other one, actually, which is kind of funny, you're going to laugh, but it was to quit fantasy football. I was a fantasy football addict. I mean, literally from September until whenever the season ends, I think January, fantasy football was my full-time job, and whatever I was doing otherwise was part-time. And there really is a fantasy football addiction out there. It is a real thing, and some people just don't have a very healthy relationship with the game. And I said, you know what? This thing is just taking up too much of my mental bandwidth. It's not contributing to my life. It's not helping my push my goals forward. And
Mm.
just sometimes eliminating the things in your life that are holding you back can be even more powerful than adding anything to your life.
100%. It's often not what you need in addition to, it's what you need to remove. Sometimes people are like, I need to read a new book, or I need to hire a new coach, or I need to take this new course, or I need to move to a new city. All of those things are great. And they're new things coming outside of you. But at some point, you have to say, like, what am I doing right now that isn't working?
Correct.
That isn't serving the ultimate goal that I'm moving towards? And then how can it can create the environment and the space for you to be able to move forward without, carrying the weighted vest that one decision or that one habit can be. And sometimes, like, even at like a Tony event or any speech or conference or event that you go to where you hear something, sometimes it's like the littlest thing where you're like, oh, that's like, you pick up on the one thing that just changes kind of everything. And I think that is the moment that, we look for in anything. You don't read a book for the entirety of the book. You find the one little nugget that's going to change things. You don't listen to a podcast for every episode, the entire hour, for every guest. Like, you let the one nugget, the one thing, the one takeaway, I think, is where all of the growth happens. And I think it's the process of, like, discovering that one little shift, discovering
Yeah.
that one little nugget. It's like, how do I find that one thing? At a Tony event, it's 50 hours.
Right.
It's 50
Right.
hours.
It's a lot.
But
It's a lot
most
of
people
content.
only take one little piece. I need to build a better relationship with my spouse. I need to lose the weight and put down the junk food. I need to quit this job. Like, it comes down to a decision, and I think if more people focused on the decisions they made versus the ideas that they had, they'd be a lot further ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
totally with that, and I agree about just searching for those nuggets, right? I think a lot of us, we open a new book or we go to a seminar and we expect it to transform our entire life, A to Z, top to bottom, and that's not going to happen. But you can walk out of there with one nugget that can make a big change in your life, and if you just look for that one nugget, you're going to get a lot more from these books, from these podcasts, and from these events. So let's. I know you spoke about your persistence just now, and you had an unwieldy amount of it, more than most, and that's what allowed you to hammer out those 100 emails and build the business you have. I'm curious, leading up to that point in your journey, were you always a persistent child, a persistent person, someone that had grit and resilience, or was it something that you had to develop over time?
Not at all. That was something that was forged. It was developed. I did not. Before that point, I was that kid that would cut corners, that would do the bare minimum, that was lazy, was also overweight. At one point, I got to where I was 75 pounds overweight, obese, had binge eating disorder. Food was a numbing agent. Then food quickly became not enough. So then I turned to alcohol because that was a better solution than food, because once you reach a certain point, it stops working
Sure.
and it stops giving you the need, or it stops filling the void that you were looking for. And so, no, I was not. I was not at all. I was like the least motivated, the least like self-driven. I'll tell my friends now, and they're like, "There's no way. There's absolutely no way." I was like, "There was," but I realized that I had to stop acting based on the way that I felt. Here's what I think most people could, like, would literally change their life if they stopped acting on the way that they felt. Because we think it's like, I gotta act based on the way that I feel. I feel anxious, so I should really take a break and take it easy. I feel worried, so I should act in accordance with that. I feel tired, so maybe I should. But once you push past that and be like, wait, I have to start acting based on the goals that I have. I have to start acting based on the direction that I want to go. Once I started acting based on the way that I wanted to move as opposed to the way that I felt, because I realized my brain was not always the right person to make decisions. Me at 6 in the morning is never the right person to make decisions, ever. That guy is negative. He's annoying. He's a little brat. He is unmotivated. He's super lazy. But as soon as that kid gets up, and to this day, I'm like, it's dark. I get that. You're going to wake up. It's 5 in the morning. You're going to get up. You're going to get into the car or lace up your shoes and you're going to go run either 6 miles or you're going to go to the gym every single day, 7 days a week. That's what you're going to do. I do not care how you feel. You're going to do that. Then you're going to get in the cold plunge and then you're going to start your day. There's never been a day where I've regretted doing that, where I was like, oh, that was the wrong decision. But current me is always like, this sucks. I'm tired. I should give myself more sleep. So I think the catalytic moment was realizing that I had to stop acting based on the way that I felt, because the feelings I had today were not going to get me to the destinations I wanted tomorrow. Like, the feelings that I had right now were not going to be the vessel that would get me to my desired dream life. So I needed to act the way my future self would want me to act. And that would get me there. So as soon as I started doing that, I was like, wait, oh, you're taking the actions that you would take 6 months from now. So it's kind of like reverse engineering the growth that you want to have. So I think that was like the moment that kind of changed things, when I understood my relationship with not wanting to do something. And like, what is procrastination? It's giving into your feelings. That's it. Like, that is literally procrastination in a nutshell. It is giving into your feelings. I
Yeah.
don't feel like doing this.
And listen, I'm totally with you. I do think that if we can just develop the habit of doing the thing, even when we don't feel like doing the thing, then that is eventually going to be the path towards our greatest life. You know, the people that ascend to those incredible levels of fulfillment and impact are the ones that just, they do the damn thing every day. And a lot of those days they don't feel like doing it. I do think that maybe some people out there still might struggle with that concept, even though they know they should be doing the thing. When they don't feel like doing the thing, the emotions still take over, and they still win a lot of the time. So just on like a tactical level, I want to break down something that you said there, because it sounded like when you're talking to yourself at 6 a.m., you're like, you are just going to go do this because this is going to lead towards the life that you want. Is that actually internally kind of how you talk to yourself, almost from a second person perspective, like you're coaching yourself?
100%. And there's a ton of like really fascinating research on this in terms of like the psychology of personalities, where we all have different personalities and different identities within us, where we see ourselves, in a different way. Like Martin Luther King, the glasses he wore were not prescription. He wore them because it made him feel more intelligent, and he thought people would perceive him so.
That's
So
wild.
it's fascinating. Those glasses are still in a museum today, and they are clear.
That's wild.
You know how people now are wearing like clear lenses, and they think like as a fashion statement. He was the first person to do that,
The king was doing it. How about that? Who knew?
because he felt for presentations, he felt like it made him feel more intelligent, and that's why he would wear them. So I feel like for me, dissociating yourself, kind of like floating outside of yourself and being like,
Mhm.
you've got to do this, and like coaching yourself and getting yourself out of that, because you can't, I'm not going to say you can't, it's really hard to eliminate negative thoughts, because 80% of the thoughts we have every single day are negative. 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day, 80% of them are negative.
We have a
And
survival
the
bias, and the
majority of them
negativity helps.
are around us. The majority of them are focused on us. So instead of eliminating, we need to replace more effectively. So I know those thoughts are going to come in every single morning. I am well aware of what those thoughts are going to be, but I replace them with better ones. But here's the thing that for me personally has changed everything, is leading less with trying to reframe and more trying to just do. Like, you can't think you can't think yourself and talk yourself out of something when you're doing it. Like, it's hard to talk yourself out of a run when you are physically running. It is hard to like once you get in the car and you are driving, like the hardest part of a run is tying your shoes. Why? Because it's the first decision. It's the spark that starts the process. So I always tell people, like, don't start with going to the gym for an hour. Don't start with writing an entire book. Get 5 words on a Google Doc. Because the ignition, the start, it's in psychology, it's called activation energy. It's the mental effort or motivation required to start something, to start a thing. That's where people struggle. But the challenge is we have these, inflection points throughout a year. So, what is the most popular that people get really excited for their goals? January 1st.
For
New
sure.
year, new me. People get stoked. They're really excited because it's an activation energy moment, right? They feel like it's this, okay, I have a fresh start. There's another theory in psychology, it's called the fresh start theory, where it's kind of like leaving behind the old thoughts that we had and moving towards the goal. That's why people wait for a birthday or holiday or a January 1st. So my main focus is what is the like not the first hour of my day. What is the first like 3 minutes? Like, I need to, when my alarm goes off, I put it on the other side of my room. So I have to physically stand up at 5 and go grab it. I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, like get downstairs, say hi to my dog, like all within probably 6 minutes. I'm like downstairs getting ready to go outside. I lay on my clothes the night before. Like I'm removing all of the barriers that my mind could use as excuses to not do the thing. So I'm like doing all the like I'm just getting moving. If there's a project that I don't want to work on, that I'm dreading, I will get 9 words on a Google Doc. Cuz like our brains like to finish things. Like it's hard to start, but we also like the like accomplishment, the dopamine of like finishing something.
For sure.
So if I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do this, or I have to write out this proposal, or I have to do this thing for the IRS, or like whatever it is that I'm dreading, I will just do like 4 minutes of it. Because once I'm doing it, I'm already doing it.
Sure, you're in the flow. I agree. I
You're
think
already doing it.
getting that boulder going is the toughest thing. But once that boulder starts rolling, you've got a little momentum and your brain is going to want to check that box. We're going to want that dopamine spike from finishing that to do once we get the momentum going. I think that's a powerful way to look at things that you really just don't want to do in the moment. The tasks on your list that you know are important, but you really don't feel like,
Yeah.
executing on them.
It's hacking our own psychology. There's a fascinating study by Dr. BJ Fogg, which talks about, you can look it up, it's awesome. And he talks about this idea of trying to uncover, he started this study by trying to uncover why people don't floss. He's like, why on earth does everyone brush their teeth, but no one flosses?
Right.
Like, why is it so hard for people to floss? And for him,
It
he
is
was
hard.
he was really great at brushing his teeth, but he would never floss. And he's like, what the heck? Like, why is it? So he took himself as the guinea pig and he flossed just one tooth. And he did a study with like literally, it's hilarious study where he would just floss one tooth every day for 30 days. And he found the subjects of the study after it, I think it was like 80 or 90% of the people continued flossing all of their teeth after the study was done because you're already doing it. You're not going to throw out the floss. Like it's literally hacking your brain to say like, I already just flossed one tooth. They've also done studies with people showing up to the gym and you're only allowed to stay there for 5 minutes. Then you have to leave. So it's the same thing. So that's what I've found like really helpful for me to kind of like trick my mind into thinking like, okay, you're already doing it. Like just open the book. A lot of friends that I have a tough time reading or sticking to the habit of reading. And I'm just like, just read a page. Because you know what happens at the bottom of that page? The sentence doesn't stop there.
Right.
It
Right.
stops on the next page.
The story keeps going.
The story keeps going. So like, and your brain's gonna want to finish it. So what do? You finish the chapter, you finish the section, 7 pages, 10 pages. And okay, wow, now you're a reader, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, I
So
agree. I agree with all that. And Arnold Schwarzenegger used to talk about, just the importance of consistency, working out day after day, even on the days where you really don't want to do anything, just go to the gym and start lifting some light weights. Just start throwing around some 25-pound dumbbells. And then before you know it, you're hitting the squat rack and you're going after it full blast. There's so much to, I think, what you just mentioned there, just the importance of starting and only committing to a small amount of work. And then when you get in there, more times than not, you're going to want to do a little bit more. And I love also what you said about just kind of reducing the friction in the habits that you're trying to ingrain, like working out first thing in the morning. Put your shoes out, put your workout gear out, have everything ready to go. So you don't have to wake up and fumble through your closet and do all these things that may give you the excuse to go back to bed. By the way, it sounds like you are a guy that wakes up and works out without caffeine, which I give you a lot of credit for. That's pretty impressive. Are you a caffeine guy, or are you a no caffeine guy?
I'll have the occasional coffee.
Okay.
If I have coffee, I need to be like my wife makes fun of these words. If I have a coffee, I am like flying through the ceiling.
I could see that from you.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to lock in on something for like 5 hours. And so if I've ever like we'll have a coffee here and there, we'll go to a coffee shop, whatever it is. But if I'm on caffeine, I'm like, I'm a different,
I love it. You've got like a natural caffeinated
I'm a
vibe too.
different person. But I like coffee. I'm not against coffee. And I know there's actually a lot of benefits to
Yeah.
caffeine, like strategically using caffeine. But I'm not a daily coffee guy, but I would say like probably once a week, once every other week,
Sounds like a healthy relationship
that
you
sort of
have
thing.
with
But
caffeine.
never on speech days. Never on speech days.
Speech days. Yeah,
Yes.
I think I could see how it could kind of take you out of the moment a little bit. It maybe not allow you to be as present as you need to be up there on stage. I'm a decaf guy these days, so decaf has a little bit of caffeine, just a little nudge towards your responsibilities, but not enough to really make you wired and crazy. So
Yeah.
that's been the middle ground that I found works for me. So I want to kind of rewind and dive back into your story. And so we kind of talked about the beginning, and you found a mentor who really helped you out, helped you book your first gig, and you started hammering out these 100 emails a day. I want to talk about that a little bit. So who are you emailing? Just event organizers? Are you emailing the same people, or these follow-up emails? Like what did that look like?
Everyone.
Anyone?
Anyone that had an email address
Got it.
in 2014, I apologize. But like high schools, colleges, student groups, trade associations, nonprofits, conferences, for annual conferences, association events, um, anyone. And then I would follow up after 7 days. If they didn't respond, I would then follow up a third time. And then if I followed up a fourth time, then I just wouldn't, I would kind of let that go.
I think
But I
four
would
and
just,
out is solid. That
yeah,
makes sense.
I would just find new emails and new
Yeah.
people, and then I would do calls, and then I would send videos. And it was just like at the very beginning when you have no momentum, like you talked about, it's so hard to the boulder down the mountain, even if there is a decline. Like that thing is still really heavy to get moving, right? You need to do your first, especially in speaking. Like to get good, you need to be in front of people, but you don't get a whole lot of opportunities to be in front of people often.
Right.
So it'll take you a long time to get really great, because you can't speak like 20 times a week. Like
Right.
you don't have that many
You could do it.
audience.
You could do it in your mirror, but that's going to be
Exactly.
and I think you probably should as well, but it's going to be a different experience.
Yes. So you don't have like that much stage time, airtime. Like, if you're training to be in the NBA, you can go play a pickup game every day. And then you can practice 2-3 hours, put up 500 free throws like Curry does to this day, every single day, and really refine that skill. With speaking, it's a little different because a really busy speaker is doing 100 events a year. That's only 100
It's 100 reps.
times.
Yeah.
That's 100 reps. That's not a lot.
No.
You do 100 reps in a single workout.
Right. Right.
It's not a lot of time. So at the beginning, it was like, I knew the one thing I was optimizing for, I was like, I have to get in front of people because I'm scared of this. I'm not very good at it. So I need to get good at it and get over it.
Right. Right. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter who it was. We're going to
Yes.
talk to schools. We'll talk to associations, conferences. If you let me get in front of a group of people, I'm there. Let's do this.
One of my first speeches was for 170-year-olds at 7 a.m. while they ate breakfast
Nice.
in a restaurant.
Let's
Whitby,
go.
Ontario. I drove my '08 Mitsubishi Lancer, the Black Widow. I freaking love that thing. And I got there and I did an ask about the audience demographic, which is now a question that I ask. And they were just like, yeah, we'd love to have you as our keynote for our breakfast, our meeting. And I was like, great, this is gonna be awesome.
Let's
I
do
show
this.
up, senior citizens in the room. My heart rate's at about 135 at this point. I'm freaking out. And I'm looking for Bob, the like organizer. And I'm like, have you seen Bob? And like, he's nowhere to be found. Then I find Bob and he's like, hey, we're so excited to have you. I'm 19. I'm 19. I'm like the youngest by like 50 years in this room. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to do our opening remarks. And then you have an hour to talk about leadership.
Oh,
What
right.
does a 19-year-old talk to senior citizens about in the context of leadership?
That's tough. That's a tough break.
This is an impossible feat. Impossible. I go to the bathroom and I'm in the bathroom and I'm like deciding, genuinely deliberating between I'm saying this like out loud in my head. I'm like, I'm either going to go out, walk outside, walk out of this restaurant without saying anything and just stop this career. Like literally just because if I'm not willing to do this, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I knew that. Or I'm gonna go out there, maybe make a fool of myself, just do the best that I can because I'd been preparing for it for weeks and just try. And if anything, it'll make for a great story. And I go out there, I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I stood in the middle of the restaurant. Middle of the restaurant. They're eating breakfast and I
What is this?
spoke.
Is this like a Checkers? Like,
Oh,
where are we, at a
it's
diner?
like it's in Canadian in Canada, it was Kelsey's.
Okay,
So it's
nice.
um like a Olive Garden.
Okay, nice. So we're crushing the Olive Garden.
Yeah.
We got a solid audience.
Like
Everyone's munching their breadsticks and
carved
they're ready
up.
to be
They
inspired.
are carved up like 7 in the morning, coffee is flowing. And honestly, there was a few moments where I had some like jokes prepared, like pieces, and they worked. And it was the first time of like, whoa, I actually like I said a joke and people laughed. This is crazy. And it worked. And I did the hour and they went well and they were like, that was great. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went home. I got home at like, I think like 8:30 in the morning. And it was,
Keynote done.
yeah,
8:30 done.
yeah, it was crazy. But it's the speaking on a native reserve 6 hours away from the next closest city with no street lights, just driving a rental car, being like, if I get stranded out here, I'm done. I had no cell service, driving for 6 hours down a dirt road to a native reserve.
Love it. I love it.
Like,
But you got to get the reps. You got to find those reps.
had to.
And they're tough to find. And it's funny that you sent 100 emails. Alex Hormozy talks about the rule of 100 a lot. And he's like, and a lot of it is pertaining to outreach. And he's like, if you're starting a business, any business, then you should probably be doing 100 touch points a day, outreach, some way, some form, whether it's Instagram DMs, whether it's emails, whether it's cold calls, because the most important thing when you're starting a business is letting people know that you are in business. And if you're not doing that, then you're probably not going to build to the place that you want to be. So, okay. So you're now, sounds like the topic, because I know you mentioned before a lot of keynote speakers, they're former athletes or they're former actors or they're former presidents or whatever they are. And you were just kind of like a 19-year-old kid that wanted to make a difference. What was the topic you spoke on in the early going? Was it just leadership? Like, how did you know what to talk about?
Everything. I didn't. I gave a presentation on public speaking before I could do it well. I gave a presentation. I've literally spoken on, you could probably name almost any topic. And I've spoken on anti-bullying, on anti-vaping, on drug prevention, on leadership, resilience, team building, mental health, mental wellness, communication skills, relationship building, AI, the future of work, leadership, mindset, professional development, finances, like literally everything. Because I would just say yes to. I was like, yeah, I can come speak on that for sure. I had someone that asked me what was oh my gosh, there was one request that was crazy. I said yes, knowing that I was like, they'll probably pick someone else, but I was like, yes. And they were like, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, damn,
Damn, you said
uh,
yes.
this is crazy. Cause it was like something like the relationship between generations and like a certain analysis test framework that you needed to like know.
So a little outside of your wheelhouse, perhaps.
Just a touch. But I always talk about this idea of like when it comes to confidence, you have to act above your self-image. And I was like, at that point, I was like, I'm just saying yes. I'm gonna talk about it. I can talk about it all. And there was many times which I do not recommend now. I do not tell people like go talk on anything, like build some credibility in it first. But at that time, I was the kid that was just like, that kid that like arrived to LA that wanted to be an actor, like had all the ambition in the
Sure.
world, like that sort of thing. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll speak on it for sure. And then, so what happened is I started speaking to a lot of students and I kind of found my lane in talking to students around helping them have a great year. So that was under the lens of like being a great leader in your school, or finding the motivation to do well in school, building a connected school culture. So I've found my lane in being able to reach students really well. And then that turned into teachers asking, like, how the heck do you reach students like that? Like, I remember going to schools in inner city Chicago where there's metal detectors to get in the building, 1,000 students in a gym. I have a microphone and there's 3 rows of bleachers all around, and I'm standing in the middle of the gym. And I'll hold them for an hour. And the principal's like, I've never seen them pay attention to anyone ever for more than 5 minutes. How did you do that? So then they started bringing me in to work with the teachers. And then I started working with teacher groups and then parent groups of like, here's how to communicate and connect and inspire and motivate and galvanize your students. Because here's what worked for me. And then that was kind of like the snowball that rolled down the mountain. But at the beginning, it was like, what do you mean to talk about? Anything. And
Let's
now
do it.
I'll have a lot of people where they're like, can you talk about this? And I'm like, no, that's not my lane. I have a great friend that can, and I'll refer you to them, but I'm not the AI speaker. My friend Sean Kanungo is the AI speaker. I don't speak about creativity. My friend Kyle is the speaker on creativity. Like, so I'm blessed to know the experts in all of those different lanes, where I can just say, like, no, you need this person. But before, it was just this like kid that was like, yeah, I'll just try it all.
Well,
I'll
I
do
think
it
there's
all.
there's a lot of power to that though too in the early going. I think that sure there is definitely an advantage to picking a lane and sticking to it. But in the early going, like you said, you need the reps. So if you
For
have to
sure.
say yes to things that are slightly outside of your wheelhouse, then I think that makes a lot of sense in speaking or really any business that you're looking to start. Like let's say you're a real estate agent and you really want to focus on this one neighborhood, but you've got no clients. If someone asks you to go uptown and you don't want to go uptown, you got to go uptown because you need some experience. You need the reps. You got to figure out how to do the job. And the only way to figure it out is by actually doing it.
And if you want to be a success, you have to treat yourself like a success first. You have to be the first person that treats yourself and has the confidence to say, like, yeah, I can speak on that for sure. Let's go. And then you work really hard at it, but you got to take yourself seriously so other people take you seriously. Like at the very beginning, I hope this doesn't reach anyone that may have been affected by this choice. But when I was 19, at 20, when I was like getting into speaking, I don't think I've ever told anyone this.
Nice. Let's get after it.
And I didn't really have the confidence to talk about like negotiations and to go back and forth with clients about like price. Cause I was like a kid, I was like, I can't do that. And then other speakers had agents, but I wasn't established enough to have agents. So before, agentic AI existed, I created my own agent. It was bookings at juanbendana.com. His name was Scott Hill, and people loved him. He was me. And anytime I would like the concept of like price would come up or anything like that, I'd be like, I got to loop in my agent Scott. He'll take care of you. And then people would talk to Scott, and people would ask to talk to Scott on the phone to talk about details. So then I'd pick up the phone and I'd call and be like, "Hey, it's Juan. Scott told me that you wanted to chat. I thought I would give you a call personally." And they would like it was just it made me feel more legit, but it literally created this level of like confidence that I was like, yeah, I can have a agent, I can have a team member. And people literally loved Scott.
I
Like
love it.
people sent Scott gifts.
That's Scott Hill. I mean, he's a shark. I mean,
It was it was crazy.
don't get in the water with him. He's going to wring you
And
dry.
then when I actually got an agent, it was crazy because I had to like I signed with an agency in the US. I had to like retire Scott Hill, right? So I had clients that would reach out to me and I would say, "Hey, I'm represented by this new agency. Let me introduce you to my new agent X." And they were like, "Scott's no longer working with you?" And I was like, no, like I went a different direction. And they were like sad.
Like, we really miss Scott. He sent a great email.
People were sad. Like they literally, it was crazy. But that sometimes you gotta do whatever it takes.
I love the name too, Scott Hill. It's just like the most generic, like create a player name that you'd get from like a 1996 video game.
And it was it was before Suits, and Suits was one of my like favorite shows. So then watching Suits, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Scott Hill is kind of like my Donna, you know? I was like, this is crazy. But I still like I had a ton that season was very much so like, just do everything you can because you know your intention is in the right place. Just do everything you can. Get in front of as many people. Like, just go for it. Just go for it. Just go for it. Just get in motion. There's like the different kinds of luck that you can create. I don't know if you've seen like I think it's like the 4 different types of luck, and one of them is luck by motion, which means the more you do, the luckier you become. Like the more action you take, the luckier you get in a pursuit. That was one of those things where I was like, I'm just going to do it all. And yeah, I'm going to get an assistant. And it's going to be great. And it worked. That was like, again, I do not recommend it. I think honesty is the best policy. My mom will kill me if she listens to this. But yeah, that was a crazy time.
And curious, I know like, Mr. Hill was the first fake employee. How long did you go as a one-man show before you actually started to build out your team?
That honestly, 2.5 years.
Cool. So you really went for a long time generating all the business, creating the client experience, A to Z, everything.
100%. Contracts, figuring out how to do that, invoicing, pre-calls, all like scheduling, all of that sort of stuff. And then once it became too much, I started working with a speaking bureau that handled all of the travel logistics, details, client calls, contracts, all that. And that was really what poured fuel in the fire and allowed me to go more like exponential, so to speak. But yeah, it was 2.5, had to be 2.5 years. 2.5 years.
But I think there's a lot of value in that too, is just learning
Sure.
every aspect of the business yourself. I think so many times entrepreneurs they try and start delegating things right away, and you're
Yes.
delegating things that you don't even understand how to do yourself, and that's just not going to be an effective way to run the business. So learn how to do it yourself, learn what works, and then create a checklist, a system that you can pass off to somebody. But you can't do it the other way around effectively.
100%. And, there's still like I'm hiring an executive assistant right now to manage a lot of like the travel logistics and things like that. And finding that person is like it is a hard thing. And sometimes it can be challenging to find the right person for the role and then defining what that role looks like. So having all of the SOPs, having the videos and the looms of you doing all of the activities so they understand exactly, and training them correctly is such a big piece of the pie. But at the beginning, I'm a very big believer, and you should do it all. You should do everything. Right now, like I can do a contract, I can set up pre-calls. I understand the entire booking process, the entire client journey. So that's valuable to understand, especially working with bureaus, to know what clients are really going through in that whole process.
Yeah, and I think you can apply that to any business, right? Is know the
Yes.
business inside and out by actually doing the things, and then delegate what once you get to a place. But staying lean in the beginning of any business, I think, is a huge advantage, right? If you take on too much cost in the early going, you can drown yourself when you can kick yourself out the door really quickly.
Yes.
So I want to, talk a little bit about like how I know that you said like, of course, the important thing is getting in front of people. How did you perfect your craft along the way before you were speaking on, a stage per week? Were you rehearsing in the mirror? Were you spending time every day to just kind of learn and read within your niche? Like what did that deliberate practice looks like? Everyone talks about the 10,000 hours of deliberate practice it takes to become excellent, world class. What did that deliberate practice look like for you over the last 10 years to become the type of speaker you are today?
Yeah, I think it was a few different sort of categories. One was the study category, which was I've watched every demo video, speaker reel of the top 20, 30, 40 speakers in every industry. Like I've watched them so many times and understanding and just obsessing about taking notes on that, understanding how they transition from that. What was the hook that they used? Why was that funny? Why didn't that land? I know they wanted it to. And like just being obsessed with the craft of it. So a big part of it is studying what works. I've watched every Netflix special um, that is currently on the platform and that has been on the platforms. Comedians are the best speakers, just that don't have a message.
Right.
Like they literally are extraordinary storytellers,
Yes,
and
they are.
their ability to have a through line and to connect minute 10 to minute 55, which isn't an accident, which people think it is, and they think it's like, oh my gosh, how did he call that? Like it's designed. It's literally designed. I remember I was in Orange County with a friend, and we went across the street from his place at this place called the Irvine Spectrum, and there was a comedy club, and we're like, oh, we can go do that. It was like a Tuesday. And we're like, oh, we could go do that. That could be fun. And we're like, how much are tickets? And they were $20. And I was like, oh, who's performing? Probably some like local. And they were like, oh, it's Kevin Hart. And we're like, pardon? And they're like, yeah, he's in town. He went up there. There was 50 of us in the room. He brought a journal and he just went joke after joke after joke after joke. Some landed, some did not. He's like, okay, great. Scribbled it out in real time. And
Love
then a
it.
lot of the jokes he did there, he did on his next Netflix special,
How
like
cool.
3 months later. So a lot of it is studying
Studying the greats.
what works well, what's great, the hero's journey and understanding the story structure. Every single movie you have ever seen follows the exact same structure, and understanding what that is and how can you really build a presentation around that. Number 2 is practice, and just like literally being in your room
Talk.
and just talking and working out a story and working out a messaging and working out pieces. And then the third is delivery and debrief. I'd call that delivery and debrief. Yeah,
Nice.
which is
D&D. Let's do it.
yeah, delivering keynotes and then debriefing what went well, what didn't, what worked, what landed, what like, and just taking a moment to debrief of like, what was great there, what could be improved for next time, because that's the like micro improvements every single time. So I would say those three, like studying, rehearsing, and then delivery and debrief, is the like the formula. Delivery
Love
and
it.
debrief, that is, yeah, more
I'm into
speakers
that.
need to do that, because
Yeah,
they go from a keynote to the next one and they don't take note of what happened here. It's like, that's gold. You just
for
got
sure.
live feedback. You just got the best feedback you could have possibly gotten.
And the feedback is a pivotal part of the practice, of the deliberate practice that'll eventually allow you to be world class. If you don't have that feedback, then you're never going to ascend to the level that you possibly can.
100%.
And I'm curious, as far as when you're putting together keynotes, how long does it take you to write it? How much research goes into it? Like, what does that process look like?
I think I'm less in the, like, some people will write their keynotes word for word,
Okay.
like a script, and then deliver a script. I've found I want to have an idea of the messages that I want to give, the stories that I want to tell, the frameworks and the research I want to bring to it, and then be able to have some flex and flow throughout. Because you don't want to get up there and people think this is a canned presentation, which a lot of times it can feel that way if you have a 60-minute script, right? Sometimes you'll get to an event and they'll be like, you're good for 45, right? Then what do you do?
Right.
Like, what
You're
do you
like, you're
cut?
like, no, I am a robot. I read off the projector.
And a lot of great keynotes do, and they have their 50 minutes and it's great. So I have a framework and a structure of like, okay, here's the opening that I kind of want to go with. Here are the 4 points that I want to make. Here's a piece of research to sort of validate each point, and then a powerful closing, and then wrap it up. Each section has a story within it, because people don't remember information, they remember information attached to emotion. So that's why we don't remember where we were, April 4th, 2005, but you remember where you were when you had your firstborn. You remember the day, you remember probably what you were wearing, like, because emotion was attached to the experience. The way that you are impactful on stage is you attach emotion to the experience,
And you do
which
that
you
with
do
stories.
through stories, through like less of the messaging and content. That's important, it's necessary, but people want to be entertained. They want to have a good time. They want to be empowered. They want to be inspired. I'm very much so like, and a lot of things now I work out on stage. So like in a busy season where I think I have like 8 keynotes in September, 7 or 8 in October, and I'm just like back to back. There's one week where I literally speak Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Big week.
every day, different, like a different place every single day. And that week, I'm going to literally just be prepping, delivery, refine, repeat. Prep, like wake up, go to the gym, come back, hydrate, healthy breakfast, like methodically done every single day. And that week, I will probably have more growth than the past 2 months
Right.
of
Right.
not, if I had 2 months of not speaking, you know,
For sure. For
because it's
sure.
just iteration, 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 tweak, tweak, tweak.
Tweak. Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. And curious, when let's say you're not on the speaker trail. Maybe you've got a week where you're only given one keynote as opposed to eight. What does your daily routine look like on those off stage days, so to speak?
I will wake up, go to the gym or go on a run, come home, cold plunge, shower up, get ready. I will typically start, using the eat the frog theory. I will start with the hardest thing first. So the thing that I hardest in terms of the amount of energy it will take.
Okay.
So the thing that I want to do the least, which I will do a full run through, like a keynote run through. I will literally speak for 50 minutes and pretend like it's one of the clients that I have coming up in the future.
Okay.
So I will pretend like AT&T or SEMA or any of the clients in the fall. I will just pretend, because then if I'm speaking to a group of realtors, it's going to change. It's going to shift. I'm going to be talking about how are you going to get to the next level of your business, especially in a market that has had the most uncertain past 2 years than it's had in history. What are you going to do with the changes? Because most people, what they'll do is they'll close up shop. What you're going to do is you're going to get to. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like,
You got to
it's
change that 10% of the talk to
I
apply to
can't
the audience.
I can't do that with a credit union association. I can't do that with a school board. I can't do that with a sales. I was with Lindt Chocolate for their national sales kickoff. All of their executives across the country, and they're like high performing, high flying sales leaders. That's very specific, and it's a funner group because it's Lindt, it's chocolate. You're
Yeah.
bringing people joy,
Right.
right? So like I want to be loose and flexible on that. So I will start with that. Then I will get with I work now with 60 agents across 20 different bureaus. So I'll be getting, a request a day. So just working with those agents of like, what are those dates? What is the client looking for? All that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll work on content development for quite a bit of time of just like not only studying like clients that are coming up, but also like what are some new stories? What are some great pieces that I can use?
That I can add.
What's something that I can try every single day that scare me? Like I'm speaking at the Snow and Ice Management Association in a few weeks in Nashville for their annual executives leaders meeting. And it's all like CEOs that anywhere from I think like $3 to $50 million in revenue. And it's the Snow and Ice Management Association. I grew up in Canada. My college and high school job was a snowboard instructor.
Right.
I'm like,
You could talk to these people.
I don't know what I'm going to use for it yet, but I'm using a story about snowboarding or about growing up in Canada or about shoveling the driveway as a kid or about like I'm using something there. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I got to develop that and I need to make it extraordinary. Prepping that and then some stuff with the book because we've been past 2.5 years leading up to the launch of the book. That's been a huge project and just working with that with events that are doing bulk buys and different shows and whatnot. So that's been a piece of it. And then also just really looking at the brand as well of just across like LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that sort of stuff, just putting out like really great content that's how you get discovered by a lot of times organizations. I've booked keynotes from LinkedIn, which a lot of people are like, wait, what? And just from LinkedIn, where it's like longtime LinkedIn follower, we'd love to have you at our event. Or even like we got featured last week by Harvard Business Review, and they just found the book out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. The Rolling Stone is doing a feature in 2 weeks. That came from social. So I'm like, okay, that's part of it that I'm going to put into sort of like the brand bucket. So I would say like keynote bucket. So like content delivery, performance prep, then brand bucket, and then I would say working on the business bucket. Those would
Sure.
be sort of the three
Yeah,
that I
I mean,
flow
and
between.
curious are really fascinating stuff, and I think you can apply that to many businesses. Like, are you time blocking this on your calendar, or is it
Yes,
more of a to do list? It's time blocked out.
100%.
Cool.
Every hour from 5:30 in the morning till 9:30, 10 p.m. is time blocked. And sure, those things will change. As an entrepreneur, you like are constantly changing and moving blocks around. So a few friends were staying from Canada for the book launch. We drove them to the airport. I moved some things around and some things will come up, but I definitely do. I'm a big fan of, using a calendar, but also just filling the space.
Now, do you have, I think time blocking is a fascinating concept. I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with it. So I like to talk about it a little bit, especially when someone who's having some success with the strategy. When you're time blocking, let's say like your brand's part of your day, whether it's an hour or two, whatever it is, are you just putting like brand focus there? Or are you putting in that time block exactly what you want to accomplish in that hour or two?
Exactly what I want to get done. Completely outcome focused. So if I need to, for example, if I need to create 5 LinkedIn posts,
Mhm.
I will put like the next 90 minutes, I'm creating 5 LinkedIn posts. I'm not working on brand. Because then you get there and you're like, well, what do I do here?
Right.
You know?
What's that even mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I am doing one keynote run through in this hour. That is what I'm doing. I'm so and I also bake in the runway in that you cannot, like, people cannot just sit and dive into deep focus immediately. Everyone has a runway of focus. So if I have an hour task, I know that's, especially for like keynote prep, I need to get into it. So I know that I probably need a 10-minute buffer to like dive in to focus. If I'm going to work on the book, like when I was like writing, if I'm going to work on that and I want to write for an hour, I actually need like probably 10 or 15 minutes before that hour starts
Just
to
to
like
kind of sit there and put your fingers on the keys
an
and
on ramp. You
yeah.
need an on ramp to focus. And they talk about this in Flow State. There's two amazing books, two of my favorite books in the world, The Rise of Superman and The Talent Code. And they talk about getting in this flow state and building world class talent. The Rise of Superman through the lens of like elite, dangerous sport athletes. So, like skydivers, base jumpers, it's extraordinary. It's amazing. But they talk about that flow often needs an on ramp and that the maximal time that you can stay in flow is only up to 2 hours. Even they're extreme sport athletes, like 2 hours, but 90 minutes was like the sweet spot. So I aim for those blocks to be like 90-minute, 2 hour blocks. And then I stand up, go for a walk my dog, take a break, drink some water, and then go back in.
Go back
Because
in.
some people can sit for like 6 hours, but they're actually not maximizing their effectiveness by sitting for 6 hours in a row and not taking any breaks.
Yeah, I agree. I think 90 minutes, right, is I think that's what Brendan Burchard works with. I've heard him talk about the science behind that. After that 90 minutes, get up, get some sunlight, get a little movement, whatever it is, 15, 20 minutes, and then jump back into another 90-minute session. I think that is really helpful for people. And I think that, and I know you talk about developing confidence a lot in your keynotes. I think that it develops a lot of confidence in someone when they can set a calendar, set a plan for themselves, and then actually execute on that plan. I think that the more that we can do that day after day, the more that we realize that we're actually in control of our own lives and the more confidence that we build in ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. It gives you proof that you are the person that can do the things that will lead you to the goals that you have. Like, you got to give yourself some evidence that you can be that person by doing the damn thing, you
Doing the
know?
damn thing.
Yeah,
Juan Bendana, can't believe it. It's been an hour already. This has flown by, dude. This has been a blast.
crazy. Insane.
Thank you for being with us today, man.
Thank you for having me.
So much fun, dude. Where can everyone keep up with all the stuff you got going on?
Yeah, I would say Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are my two like top platforms. It's just Juan Bendana. That's
There it
it.
is.
And yeah, send me a message on either of those. That is me. That is not, some social media manager
Love it.
that is managing those inboxes. Like, I respond to all of those things. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Get in there, guys. Give Juan a follow. I hope you get to catch him live one of these days. He's absolute fire on stage. And Persistence Playbook Nation, thank you for being with us today. This is your weekly reminder that you will feel resistance to the important work in your life this week. Acknowledge that resistance, lean into your why, take action anyway, and we'll see you on the next one.